Before I start painting, one of the things I like to do is use this nifty product called Gloves in a Bottle, and what it does is it protects your hands from all these solvents and cadmium colors, flake white. A lot of artists use gloves, but this is a really convenient alternative. So let's get going. Hi, I'm Nicole Kennedy. Welcome to Color Mixing Basics. I have here a palette laid out with some of the colors that I recommend for people who are starting out in painting and want to paint just about anything or have the ability to paint anything in any color, and to start with your basic simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors. And of course I'm missing the main color, which is the color white. So let me put that out. And what I also have here are some objects that we're going to do some color mixing to create the color of the object. And the colors on these objects are a little bit off. I mean, they're not, out of the tube colors. Unlike acrylic, when you use oil paints, you actually have to mix the colors. With acrylic, more often than not, the color comes right out of the tube, the color of this pear, the color of this apple, the color of this vase. I usually have 2 yellows, 2 reds, 2 blues. Sometimes I put a green out, but not very often. I have cadmium yellow light, which is, as you can see, a very pale yellow color. I've got cadmium yellow medium, which is a warmer, darker color. Cad red light, which is almost an orange color of red. Alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue, and cerulean blue. And as you can see, I've laid my palette out kind of like a color wheel, from warm to cool colors. And of course white. I use titanium white, sometimes I use zinc white, sometimes I use flake white. I am not that particular about what white you use, but most people use titanium. Let me just demonstrate just a few color mixing basics. You have all these wonderful colors, and very rarely do you use them straight out of the tube. So the first thing I'm going to do is just show you how to mix just a basic green or a basic orange just by using some of these colors. Let's start with the cerulean blue. That's a pretty intense color. So I'm going to square off my canvas here and use little areas of it. Okay, there's cerulean blue. As you can see, it's a fairly intense color. Now, some people will tell you have to mix your colors with your palette knife, like this on the palette. So I'm going to mix cerulean blue with some yellow and make a green color. I don't usually do that. I usually mix my colors actually with my brush and right on the canvas. So you can either do that and make a nice bright green using cerulean blue and yellow, or similarly, because this is oil paints, you can take the yellow and mix it right on the canvas on top of your cerulean blue and make a green. So cerulean blue and light yellow make various greens. Now you can take blue, ultramarine blue, the same yellow, and you make more of a olive green kind of color. So it's a little bit different than the cerulean blue. I call cerulean blue a bonus color. It's not a color everybody uses on their palette, but I find it comes in really handy while painting because it's a great color for mixing. Let's say I want to make orange. The way you make orange is you mix yellow, and I'm going to use a clean brush for this. And I'm going to put the yellow on here as well, because I'm going to show you that you don't just have to mix on the palette, you can also mix on your canvas. And let's clean the palette knife off. Now I'm going to put a little bit of this cadmium red light in with the yellow. And see how that red overpowers the yellow? Let me put some more of the yellow in it, and now it looks a little more orange, and that's a really nice intense color. So there you go, orange, red, and yellow. Or you can do what I do, because I'm always in a hurry and I hate wasting my time mixing, which isn't really true, but another thing you can do is just take the red and go over the yellow on your canvas and make an orange. You're going to see a lot of this in oil painting, because when you're doing oil painting, the color on the canvas is wet. So it's just a trick. It's just something that you learn as you go, and you learn it. It's just one of those things that sinks in more and more the more you do it, just like anything in painting. The more you do it, just the more comfortable you get with it. Now, I'm using these little brushes. These are filberts. Filberts are brushes that are kind of rounded at the edge. I think this is about a number 6. I'm not really sure, but they're good brushes to start out with. Now, I'm going to make a purple. So the way to make purple, there's many ways to make purple, but it's a tricky color. Now I want to make sure my brush is really clean. A little bit of alizarin crimson with white makes a nice pink. It makes a cool pink, so I'm going to put that on here. It's a cool pink. To make that a little more purple, if you put some of the cerulean blue in it, it just gets to be just a little more purpley. Now you can't make, with these colors it's really hard to get a true purple, but you can get close enough and get it to be kind of a lavender. But what's happening is that when you keep your color mixing amongst these 6 simple colors, it's impossible to make a painting that's not harmonious, because you're just using from the same group. And that's just one of the things, is that when you have, if you had, for let's just say 10 other colors out here, you'd have so many varieties of colors that it can throw your whole painting off and make it look a little off balance. Now, one of the things to make black, which a lot of people ask, how do you make black? There's no black out on here. Black is one of those colors that in oil painting or on plein air painting, when you're painting out in the open air, or studio painting, or where you're doing kind of impressionistic painting, black is made by combining the darkest color on your palette, which in this case is ultramarine blue, and secondarily is alizarin crimson. And that gets you a pretty dark color. And if you want to go blacker than that, some people do use black on their canvases, but I just think it kind of makes like a dull, dead hole. So, see how nice and dark that color is? And when you put that black around a light color, you really get that color to pop. So we're not only just mixing colors, but we're talking about value, okay? Let's just say I want to make this green a little bit darker. I can take some of that black and mix it in with the green, and it'll just naturally go a little darker. The ways to make a warm pink or a peach is by cadmium red light, cadmium yellow medium, and that brings you a really hot orange. And then if you add white to it, white is a cool color, by the way. It is. People put white in everything to make something to go light, and in fact actually can get it to go dull, which is a good thing in some cases. But there is a peach color, and that's by mixing cadmium red light, cadmium yellow medium, and white. And you see these colors are all nuances of each other. Now let's put some of the colors right from the tube out in this little square so that you can see by comparison. This is ultramarine blue. If you mix some white in with ultramarine blue, you can get it to gradate into all kinds of, variations of blue colors. If you put a little bit of alizarin crimson in there on the bottom, you could gradate it into some purpley blue colors. So what I'm doing is that rather than showing you a color wheel, I'm actually just demonstrating to you what the colors do. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to try to match the colors of our objects, of our little fruit objects here, by mixing up these 6 colors. I'm going to make pink a warm pink. That's cadmium red right out of the tube. If you put white with it, you make a nice little pink color. And that's the kind of flesh tone that we kind of want for our skin, to make that nice, alive looking color. Speaking of flesh tone can be any color. Sometimes flesh tone has blue in it, like if you were doing a shadow of somebody's face. And you take the opposite color, which is one of the opposites color, which is blue, and you can make kind of a gray pink. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm putting an opposite color in with something to kind of tone it down. Brown is by mixing 2 opposites. In this case, we don't have green and red make brown, but we don't have green, so we have to make green. How do you make green? You make it with yellow and blue. So let's mix up some blue. I'll just use some ultramarine blue, some yellow, and make green. And now let's add some red to that. And there you go, brown. So green and red make brown. If you want it to be a warmer brown, grab some of the warmer cadmium yellow medium, and there you go, you can make it a warmer brown. These are called what we call tertiary colors. Tertiary colors are mixing 2 secondary colors, and I know that sounds very scientific, but you've got your primary colors, which are yellow, red, and blue. Your secondary colors, which are the orange, the green, and the purple. And then when you start getting into these nuances, they're called tertiary colors, which are the mixtures of 3 colors. And usually when we're painting in oil, most of our paintings are in the tertiary color range, and then when we start putting our highlights on, or our most vibrant colors, that's when we start using the colors more out of the tube, because they're so intense, as you can see. As color mixing actually isn't all that hard. I know we see these color wheels, and it makes it, frankly, it looks terrifyingly complicated to me when I see a color wheel. And I don't think you need to have a color wheel to be able to learn how to mix. I also think most of us do it intuitively. Another thing we can do is, these are some gradations. I'm just going to show you a few, just little odds and ends, and that is, let's just say we have some alizarin crimson here. And alizarin crimson is a very transparent color. It's and very strong. It can overpower just about any other color. The opposite of purple is yellow. So I'm going to put the cad yellow light here. Now, when you mix the 2 together, you get kind of this almost fiery color. And this would be what we call tertiary color. One of the ways, obviously, to lighten, and I love putting just a little bit of, sometimes I like to throw a little bit of white in there just so that you can see all these other little kind of color nuances you can pull out of the squares. And this is what you're going to be doing when you paint an object. You're going to be nuancing all these little colors like this and doing just very simple color mixing.